Welcome to Team Perry's Step Out of Line podcast, featuring co-hosts Perry and Lori Finkelstein.
For our podcast, Perry's voice is represented by a communication device, or rather AI technology, to ensure that all can hear and understand her speech.
Together, they explore, meet, and share inspirational stories with guests who have made a positive impact in today's world. This podcast resonates with our hope to make this world a better place one step at a time through love, acceptance, and uplifting conversations.
I think the biggest stepping out of line came when I got pregnant and I was preparing to be a mother. And I realized this sporting space that for the longest time, I thought I just had to be tough enough to survive it. When I started to think about it through the lens of a mother and the daughter I was bringing into the world, I had this deep conviction to change it. And so in 2018, I helped form a committee at USA Track and Field. I didn't realize at the time, but we ended up creating what was the first ever maternity policy for a US sports national governing body. It felt small, but also so important. We were trying to ensure our female athletes kept health insurance during pregnancy and for a year postpartum. That's what we ultimately passed. And in the months after that, as the spotlight grew on kind of the female athlete maternity penalty, that policy helped inform other maternity policies for other shoe companies and sports NGBs. And that was probably my biggest stepping out of line to that point. And I think in the time since, it's really been using my voice to change sports because I love my sport. And in loving it, I'm fully aware of areas where it could be better. And I think that that's the attitude and the ethos that I try to take in the work that I do.
There was an interview of you after the 2012 London, and you knew going into that some of the runners around you had gotten in trouble in the past. Maybe it was just a slap on the wrist. And before the race started, you were very frustrated and you held it in. And to me, this is the biggest step out of line moment I could ever think of, because I don't know if I would have had the strength to do that. You took a breath and you said, I'm going to do this the best that I can, and I'm going to ignore everything. How did you get that moment where you just said, I'm doing what I can do?
I had so many moments throughout my running career where I would see the people who took shortcuts, who blatantly broke the rules, get ahead. And it was heartbreaking for me because I'm someone by no means perfect, but I try very hard to do things the right way, the fair way, to invest in integrity and building a legacy and something that I can look back on with pride, that my kids, my parents, the community that got me to the starting line can be proud of. In the athlete world, we say controlling the controllables. And at the end of the day, I had to keep coming back to when I started as a runner, I told myself I would rather quit than cheat. And when I looked at these people that were beating me because they were cheating, I said, well, would I do it any other way? Is there anything that I would change? And the answer was emphatically no. Unfortunately, it took 13 years for the truth to come out. And in that 13 years, there were a lot of tears and anguish and frustration at a system that was clearly broken, because even the president of our federation was taking bribes to cover up doping bans. I mean, it was a mess, but I had to just keep coming down and back to what can I control in this situation? What would I change? And knowing that I wanted to build this legacy helped me keep my compass point north in a direction that, even if it didn't get me the results I wanted, I could at least be proud of the effort I put forth because it was honest.
You have two kids. They're going to read about you when they get older, and they're going to hear about it. And then they're going to say, wow, this is my mom and this is what she did.
There was a part of me that very much wishes that the 2012 Olympics could have been different, that my athlete experience could have been during a time frame not so marred by doping. I know you can't change one thing and expect that there won't be a ripple effect. As I reflect on this kind of absurd, unexpected journey, I believe things happen when they're meant to happen, and that it's my job to just figure out what that meaning is and how I can make something positive from it. And I think there's a beautiful silver lining that my children will now have an opportunity to see me get my medal at the LA Olympics, a home Olympics. I mean, what a beautiful silver lining is that? And I look at my husband, who in 2012 was my boyfriend. We'd been dating for a couple years, and it was that Olympic experience in London when I knew I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him. When I found out the news about my medal, I was standing in a hotel lobby on a 40th birthday trip with my husband in front of me and my kids on either side. And as I sort of burst into tears when I got the news, they enveloped me in a hug. And it was just such a strong and important reminder of what we've been talking about, the legacy that you build and the integrity you want to invest in. It was a hard thing to have to swallow at the time, but it now gives me a platform and an opportunity to use my voice and advocate for clean sport and investment in that Olympic dream that I always believed in as a child, that kind of got broken a bit, but to come the other side and really be able to help move our sport for the better. I hope that's what I try to do.
And your husband's a runner as well.
He ran for Mexico. We met at a race in Italy in 2010 and dated for a few years before getting married, but really understood what it was to live this crazy athlete lifestyle, which I'm grateful for. There were never questions like, why are you doing this? Why do you need to do that? He was an incredible support, and we developed this strength in our relationship. You see people in sports, you see through hard workouts, through wins and losses, what someone really is made of at their core. And so we were able to take that deeper understanding of each other and this deep partnership and team mentality into the life we've created.
Is your husband an artist also, as well as a runner?
He is, yeah. My husband, Pablo Solares, he studied econ and fine arts in college. So his full-time job is at Chase. He works in community banking, so helping smaller businesses essentially get the resources they need to grow, which is no small feat. But he also is an incredible painter. He has some murals in Portland and in Oregon, and then in San Francisco as well. And very lucky to have his art also gracing our house.
And you also run a nonprofit together?
We have a nonprofit, Imagining More. We started that in 2012. At its core, it was really trying to create role models for young people in a way that neither he nor I felt we had. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. The sports role models on TV played in the NFL, the NBA, and the MLB. So they were incredible, but they were all men. And I didn't really think that professional athletics was even something girls could do. My husband, growing up in Mexico, came from a sporting family, but when it came to running, didn't really have a lot of role models to look up to. And so we wanted to try to just more first-person stories of athletes and how they've accomplished what they did. And our main project these days, just yesterday, we were at a race in San Francisco, creating this kind of post-race kids carnival area, trying to create a racing environment that's more inclusive. My mom had noted when she was watching me race, it really felt like if you weren't competing, there wasn't really a space for you to feel welcome. And now with kids, sort of the same thing, what do my kids do while I'm out on the race course? And so we try to create these fun environments where kids can come and play and be a part of the running community. And then every summer we do our running camps. So middle school and high schoolers. Empowerment through sport is sort of the theme. We talk about not just sports in terms of, the exercises and the volume you should do, but really fundamentally, how do you establish strong foundations so that you can be a lifelong athlete, so that you can be resilient, so that you understand nutrition and college recruiting and mindset from a sustainable, holistic, long-term perspective. I went to Morocco in 2017 for the Department of State and was privileged to lead this empowerment through sport camp concept, both at their Olympic Training Center in Rabat and working with aspiring elite athletes and their coaches, as well as young women in the countryside outside Marrakesh, many of whom had never really even considered sports, but it was a way to introduce them to movement in the way that it could connect them with their body and also with each other. And we wanted to take that same ethos back home and host our camps in the Bay Area as well.
You're a speaker as well. And you talk about, you think of running as maybe a solo sport, but really it's a team sport. And you talk about team and team management. Do you ever do any speaking engagements for kids or high school kids?
I do, yeah. The main kind of theme I speak on, we call it Medalist Mindset. I created it with a fellow Olympian, a bobsled silver medalist, Lauren Gibbs. She's incredible. It started as just a thought experiment. Could we take the sports performance tools we used to earn our Olympic medals and distill them down into ultimately 5 keys and help everything from goal setting through building a strong routine and a team around yourself to help achieve those goals. A lot of my keynotes will be with these corporate groups because there is great translation into personal and professional goals as adults. But I love working with kids, high school and college. I feel like they're still so open and willing to do the work. And I look at my life and these people who were really pivotal at turning point moments, people who showed up for me and helped me along a path that led me step by step to the success I achieved. And if I can be that for someone else, that feels like the biggest blessing. It feels like what life should be about.
Perry had 11 and a half marathons. We were fundraising for a charity, which we no longer do since Perry established her own nonprofit. And for 15 years, I pushed her in a wheelchair jogging stroller with all her medical equipment on it. Every mile, I would envision it happening, and it happened. It was very helpful. In the height of you racing, did you envision the end of you crossing over the finish line? Is that how you approach it?
With the sports psychology and visualization, it's a lot about process. And so, yes, you want to be identifying kind of the goal that you've set, but then the main focus of the visualization was how you would approach the process and the execution of that strategy that you've created. In middle distance, it's not exactly execution, it's more like improv. So you have to think through a lot of different scenarios. I raced the 1500 meters, the metric mile, as they call it. So 3 3/4 laps on a track, usually 15 to 20 women, all wanting to be in the same lane 1, which is just a few feet wide. And so you have to kind of have an idea of intent at the outset, but then you also have to have a lot of self-awareness about, what are the strengths you're bringing to the race, and then be very tuned in and aware of what's happening around you so you can find that moment to break through or go or cover, whatever it might be. But visualization was a big part of my preparation for each race because I'd race about 15, 20 times a season. We usually would, about a week out, once we had the entry list for the race, really start thinking about who the competitors were, what their strengths were, how mine matched up, and then break the race down into 3 or 4 key moments. And then from that, distill that down into, for me, just one word or focal point for each of those phases of the race. At the outset for lap 1, it would usually be about position. Where do I want to start out in the race? For lap 2, it was always breath. This idea of how can I take a deep breath to kind of come back into my body after the big adrenaline rush of the gun going off. And third lap was about kind of eyes up and awareness. That's when the moves usually started to happen. And then I didn't even bother having a word or much of a word for the last lap because at that point you're so tuned in and it's just whatever you have left, you're trying to give it. And in the years since, it's been cool learning as there is more research on neuropatterning and how the brain reacts to visualization and how visualizing something, your brain doesn't necessarily know that you're not doing it in the moment. It can reinforce these experiences that you visualize can then feel as if you've done them before, even if you haven't. I was always nervous still, but to kind of help keep the nerves calmer by knowing that I had prepared and had a plan and had given myself the best chance of success.
Do you miss it?
It's weird. I still cannot go to a track and field meet and just be a casual observer. The smells, the sounds, I get all the tingles that I would have when I was going to any competition. I've been fortunate to do both in-stadium announcing and broadcasting as an analyst for NBC, Paris Olympics, as well as other platforms. That's a really fun way for me to stay engaged with running and have a purpose at a competition. But the racing itself. I don't miss the training. It was so all encompassing. I had to miss out on a lot of family and friends. Those relationships struggled when I'm on the road 7 months out of the year and in such a singularly focused sport. But I do miss those moments when I was at peak fitness and that sense that my body could do incredible things. That potential was something that was so exciting to feel. It's hard not to miss that, but I love now being able to tell stories on the other side of what it's like to be an athlete and to stay engaged that way too.
So I barely can see without glasses. So I used to walk really fast with Perry with an iPod, but I couldn't see to change my song. So I've spent at least 3 half marathons with the same song playing the entire time. Move Like Jagger, Black Eyed Peas. I can't listen to it. Every time I hear this music, I'm like, it's so horrible. But that became the song. When I hear it now, I'm like, yes, let's go. What would be your song that would be like, this is my song?
Something of that tempo for sure. I would usually have a playlist each season, and then I would use music for my warm-ups at races. It was a good way for me. I love seeing people and engaging with people, but it can also be in a lead up to a race that can be also emotionally draining. It uses energy that you want to be saving for the race itself. And so often on the bus to the competition and in the warm-up area, and then during the warm-up itself, I would have a playlist. It would often start with something maybe calmer, even sometimes like a classical song, just keep my energy lower and chill. And then when the warm-up would start, something big and poppy. I'm thinking in 2008, those are the ones I probably remember the most. That was my breakthrough year as a professional athlete. I made my first Olympic team. I'd finished college in 2007. I had a stress fracture, so I missed my senior season of track and was heartbroken to miss my last season. And then extra stressed because I was 1 year out from the Olympic trials and on crutches, with ephemeral neck stress fracture, which if not treated well, could have meant I never ran again. So in that lead up to 2008, those memories are so strong. Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger by Daft Punk, I would play over and over as part of the warm-ups, something that would just like have kind of positive words, forward focused affirmations, and could get me to the starting line feeling kind of jazzed for competition.
As long as you don't have to listen to it the entire time.
Oh my goodness, 6 hours of the Move Like Jagger.
So horrible.
She would yell at me and be like, "Hey, switch the song."
Perry would be like eating bananas because she was hungry and would like throw it, please find my song. And nobody could help me around me. And I would be like, oh my God, I wanted to die. So we would start off in the beginning of the marathon because all the wheelchairs and the bikes and everything start off in the beginning. And then you would have thousands of professional runners who want to win pounding behind us. So as soon as we started over like Miami, this one bridge, we would have to go all the way to the right and squeeze ourselves so small because then we would hear the pounding. It sounded like of elephants rushing up to us.
And you feel, I don't feel like me, then like the tingles in the back of your neck, you're like, they're coming.
When your body is doing something that you never thought possible, that's the best feeling in the entire world.
It's universal. I think that feeling you felt is the same feeling I felt. The times and paces and whatnot are irrelevant. Ultimately, an incredible gift. That awareness that you are doing something hard and that you have pride in and feeling your body do hard things is such, I feel fortunate to have been brave enough to take up some challenges that could give me that sense of confidence in myself.
I know when I raced in the marathon, and I actually got up in my walker and walked a few steps, sometimes more, I would put my headphones in because it would help me focus and drown out everybody else. I wasn't there for the cheering. I was there for myself. And now, with writing my memoir, I put music on for the same reason. I am focusing on what I have to do, and it's how I channel everything. And most of the time, my mom finds me bouncing around.
She's bouncing around on coffee and chocolate and writing. And I'm trying to do medication. And she's like, Perry, stay still.
I'm excited.
Right. Yeah, she's very excited.
As you're writing, what are some of the songs that have really meant a lot to you?
So right now I listen on shuffle, but most of the time, the songs that keep me awake and going are like upbeat songs. So the EDM mashup of the song All the Things She Said, Kelly Clarkson, and Chappell Roan. So you are an author as well. Can you tell us about that?
I have a workbook called Medalist Mindset, which is really those concepts that we talked about, sports performance applied to personal and professional goals. The idea behind the workbook was, okay, let's present the concepts in a short, digestible way and then pair them with worksheets so that people can not only understand the ideas, but really start taking action. My other book, Strong as a Mother, is supporting active mothers during pregnancy. It takes you through the 3 trimesters of pregnancy plus the 4th trimester postpartum. The goal was really to create a resource that I wished I had had. There's so little research around women's bodies in general, and pregnant women's bodies is definitely lacking when it comes to understanding and awareness. In the last 5 years or so, there's been a major shift in terms of recommendations around activity during pregnancy. And I worked with a physical therapist certified in both pelvic floor and orthopedics, which is a unique combination. She helped me in my pregnancy, and together we created a resource that really took her 20 plus years of clinical experience working with women kind of all backgrounds, including Olympic athletes, and putting it into hopefully an easy to follow guide that helps women know what's happening in their body during pregnancy and how to support it. I believe we were put on this earth to leave it better than when we came, and I really take that as a guiding principle. My life is what it is because so many people stepped up to help me. And I love the quote, "We stand on the shoulders of giants," and this idea that my opportunities were the result of efforts of those before me, which means I have both gratitude for what they've done and also responsibility to do the same for the next generation. I think it helps keep things in perspective and helps keep me grateful and optimistic.
What is your goal for the next few years?
So I will actually receive my Olympic medal at the LA 2028 Olympic Games. That's something I'm very excited for, and leading up to that, trying to work through both a memoir on this Olympic athlete journey that's had some very unexpected twists and turns and the story behind that. And then also my college teammate is a screenwriter, and we're working on a documentary about the London 2012 race, but not just through my lens, but also the Turkish athletes who were disqualified in the race have, as of now, agreed to be a part of it. And we really want to tell the story of it's been called the dirtiest race in Olympic history. We really want to tell that story through the lens of, yes, the race itself, but also the ecosystem it existed in. And this effort to kind of make peace with what happened, understanding of what might have led the athletes who cheated to make those choices. Something I'm still very anxious about, but excited to explore that because it's not an angle that often gets looked at when you kind of tell sports stories. And then also broadcasting, I'm hopeful that I will be able to be a part of the broadcast team for NBC again for 2026. And so I have some different events coming up in the months ahead, and we're just continuing to stay sharp and engaged and aware of this running community and what's going on in it.
What would you say to your younger self?
I look at when I was a child and there was such desire to do something meaningful and important. As a type A perfectionist overachiever, front of the class, hand always raised, really looking for that validation that, I was doing things right, that I would get the A+ if I could. And I think as an athlete, this unexpected Olympic medal journey, I spent a lot of time feeling like because I didn't achieve an Olympic medal, I had fallen short. I was in the process of trying to make peace with and take pride in what I had accomplished as opposed to what I had not. And so that process of sort of self-love and like readjustment or reorientation towards accomplishment was happening as I found out about the medal, that I would actually get it. But what struck me in the kind of days following, we had a party with the people who had been part of my team in 2012, who had gotten me to the starting line and had loved me regardless of the outcome. And 12 plus years later, we were all still together, standing in the same room, sort of celebrating what we had done together as a team. I'm proud and grateful that I do have an Olympic medal, but it struck me how important it is to invest in people, and that if you're investing in the people around you, you'll never lose. Like finding the right team around you and really showing gratitude and appreciation for the love they give you and giving it back is ultimately what life is about. I'm still a driven person. I still have big goals, but I think it gave me a lot of important perspective on really what the most important thing is in life. And I think for younger me, reminding her that and telling her that the journey might not be the expected one, or it might not be straightforward, but you'll learn so much along the way.
Journeys are never the way you think it's going to go.
They're messy.
They're messy.
Very messy.
Life is messy, but beautiful. I like to say, give me lemons and I'll make the best darn lemonade you've ever tasted. You make your life the best it can be, because it's all we got.
One of Harry's favorite doctors as a kid, she was like 3 years old, and we were taking her home from the hospital then, and she was just trach. We had no idea as parents like what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. And he said, when life gives you lemons, squeeze harder. Like suck it up and squeeze harder. And we're like, okay. And that got us through it. It was like a slap in the face almost. But
you're a fighter like me. Like life might throw us those lemons, but we're going to squeeze harder and we're going to make it beautiful. I find inspiration in that when I find others that are that way. And you have such a incredible story and perspective. I mean, listening to your TED Talk, your willingness to be honest and raw, and the reflections that you have on this world are so profound. I love, and I'm thrilled that you started with this podcast, even the theme, love and acceptance, one conversation at a time, but then taking that further through your memoir. I'm so excited for you.